Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you once again for coming to join us on the weekly United Regional Chambers updates. We try and bring you some interesting guests and some interesting topics every week. This week, I'm very proud to introduce you to two folks that there was a merger of CVNA and Hope Health, and the community resource has come out of that. I would like to introduce to you the president, Mr. Paul Lenahan, and our executive director, Marlene Roberti. Hey, folks, welcome.
Hi there. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Jack. Thanks for having us.
We're doing good. So tell us a little bit. This is the Community Health Services Foundation. It was born out of the merger, but tell us how all this happened.
Absolutely. So it's kind of interesting because it started so long ago. It really started back in 2019 when the VNA of Attleboro was really taking a look at all of its operations and made some key decisions about the possibility of joining forces with Hope Health in Providence. And this was an interesting merger for that organization and ours because they do the Philip Poulitar Hospice institutional setting, and our specialty was in-home hospice, as well as follow-up care from people who were released from hospitals. So we made a board decision. The Community Health Systems Inc. board made a decision back in 2019, and we really expected that the approvals and the merger would take place very late in 2019. And then with COVID and with the ongoing delays and the fact that it was an out-of-state organization that CHS was talking to, basically it took much longer. It felt, as I've often said, like almost an 18-month pregnancy. So there was a significant amount of transfers of assets to the Hope Health CVNA, the new entity, and the remaining assets that were held by CHS, Community Health Systems Inc., were used based on a board vote that took place a long time ago and the approvals from all the Massachusetts approval authorities to create a foundation that would continue to serve the 13 communities that the Community VNA had typically serviced, as well as focus on the health and wellness of the people in those communities and trying to enhance the quality of health overall in all of those 13 communities for those residents. Marlene, I don't know if you would want to add anything that I might have missed out. Feel free.
Yeah, I think just that the board's intent was really to keep those assets in the community, to, as Paul said, serve the health and wellness needs of residents living in those 13 communities. So we're pretty excited to have launched it and to get it off the ground.
And Marlene, I know that you were originally a member of VNA.
I was.
An employee of VNA. And Paul kind of stole you away for a little bit. And you've done a phenomenal job for us so far. You're the backbone of this organization. And between you, Paul, and a couple of the other board members from the original group, you formed this foundation. Now tell us, what are the proceeds of this foundation going to benefit?
So we expect that once or twice a year, we'll release an RFP and we will give grants to nonprofits serving the residents of those 13 communities that address their health and wellness needs. So it really is wide open as long as you meet those criteria. We actually just released an RFP. It's on our website, which I believe is on the screen, but can also be accessed at chsfoundationma.org. And we released an RFP that is due on January 14th. And really, it's a COVID recovery grant. We know a lot of organizations in the community are still struggling to recover from COVID. So we thought it was appropriate for our first grant to really help organizations move to the next step of COVID recovery.
And Paul, what are some of the other organizations that we'll be working with through this board and through this foundation?
That's a great question, Jack. And really, what we want to do is our charter basically allows us to support any of the not-for-profit organizations that serve residents of the 13 communities that we're involved in. And so that would be examples would be organizations like the YMCA's, any substance abuse or alcohol treatment programs that might be in existence, people that work with not-for-profit organizations that may work with satisfying the needs of people in the food sufficiency area, and many other organizations that cover the very broad interpretation of health and wellness. And again, we like the idea that it's a very broad definition that we can focus on, because we do think that there's so many aspects of health and wellness that are served by so many different needs. An example might be even the Literacy Center of Attleboro, for example, has a tremendous amount of English as a second language programs that basically, if someone's seeking health or care through a physician or a physician's assistant or any organization, their ability to communicate is dependent upon their ability to, speak the language in many respects. So we do think it's a very broad charter that we can serve, and that the number of not-for-profits and good organizations that are in our 13 communities can really benefit from our largesse and our ability to donate money to them when they have legitimate programs that meet the health and wellness needs of our residents.
And Marlene, what are the size grants going to be granted?
Well, this first round, we've asked people to apply for up to $20,000 for that recovery grant. So it really could be anything from $5,000 to purchase something to create a barrier between customers and patients or clients or caregivers, to $20,000 to help with membership loss. In the future, they could be much larger grants. As every grant opportunity approaches, the board will decide what the focus of that grant will be and how much the grants will actually be. So they could be in the future, they could be up to $50,000. They could be more than that. They could be less. It really will be handled on a cycle to cycle basis.
And Marlene, I meant to prep you for this, and I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. What are the 13 communities that this organization will serve?
I will tell you right now.
I knew you'd have it right like that.
Franklin and Rentham, Foxborough and Easton, Plainville, Mansfield, North Attleboro, Norton, Seekonk, Rehoboth, Dayton, and Taunton. And I think it's fair to say that given Community VNA's history in the Attleboro area, that will probably be where we start building out to those other communities. Any organization that serves residents of those communities can apply. Even Rhode Island agencies or Brockton agencies or Boston agencies, as long as they serve people living in those 13 towns, are eligible to apply.
And Paul, tell us a little bit about how you formed this board.
Well, it was certainly a very interesting process. And Jack, you may have mentioned this earlier, but we had 4 folks from the original Community Health Systems Inc. board that said that they would like to be involved in the foundation as it got established. And that 4 member group basically identified others in the community to try to build out a board that was diverse and represented many aspects of our communities. And we now have a board of 12 people. We did look at geographic diversity as a significant goal, and we attempted to do that. And essentially, we feel like we've got a pretty good representation of our communities on our board. And there are many big decisions to be made in a de novo type of a situation like we're in. We do feel very fortunate in as much as we have a pretty significant amount of assets that we have as our base. We're not really out asking people to donate to us. We're not really seeking at the moment any contributions from our board members even. We're basically saying, let's launch this great new Attleboro-based foundation that can serve these many communities, and let's see if we can ultimately as a board decide our long-run, long-range mission and vision as we see it. And we've had some very healthy, interesting discussions that many of the board members have participated in, and we have many big decisions that will be made as we go forward.
And Marlene, what made you decide to come over to this side of the coin?
Well, one, the opportunity was presented to me, and I thought it was a great opportunity to learn about starting up an organization. I've worked for a lot of organizations. I've done fundraising and grant writing and development for a long time, but I've never helped build an organization from the ground up. So it's been very exciting. I do have a tremendous interest in foundations coming from the background of being a grant writer. So it's interesting. It's great to be on the side where you're giving away money and not asking for it.
Well, it's funny, and I'm glad you two brought that up because when we first announced this a week or so ago, two of my regulars said, "Oh, geez, Lank's going to be looking for more money again." I said, "No, no, no, not this time. I'm very lucky. I was asked to, serve on this board, and we're going to be giving money away." Paul, you were one of the original four, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And what was your position on the other board?
I was on the Finance and Investment Committee. I was chairman of the Investment Committee, but a member of the Finance Committee. And I was on the board of the Community VNA and CHS for really from about 2017 onward. And in that capacity, I got a pretty good feel for what we had in terms of assets and the relationship we had with our investment advisors. But Jack, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that you're on the board, and clearly you're going to ask us a lot of easy questions today that we can certainly answer. But we are very happy to have you on our board because your breadth and depth of experience in this geographic area, I think, is going to be very valuable. And again, I've said from the beginning that we really want to be very transparent with our board members. We want this to reflect the views and the commitments that the board members have and bring to the table. And of course, we are a diverse group of 12 people, and there may be many different opinions that exist among that group. But hopefully, our goal will be in the early stages to come to some consensus on what our mission should be and what our vision should be. And again, there's so many decisions that remain, decisions that foundations make every day. But as a de novo organization, we have to figure out: do we want to provide only program grants, or do we want to do capital grants as well? Do we want to do only 1-year grants, or should we do multiple year grants in certain cases where it's warranted? So again, our board is still learning to get together with each other. We started meeting informally before we even existed back in the summer of 2021. And we got to know each other through Zoom meetings, essentially. And I find that, the individual experience of meeting in person is still, frankly, in my opinion, a better way to get to know people. But we've had a couple of board meetings, and I think people are getting to know each other, feeling more comfortable and voicing their opinions. And we really want to have everyone feel comfortable to ask any question and also participate in any discussion that relates to their opinion and how they see the future of our organization.
Well, I was very happy that you asked me to be part of the board, but we've got such a diverse group of experienced individuals. Like Paul, you just mentioned that you were on the Finance Committee. Give us a little bit of your background.
Well, I guess I say in general that I was a banker for many years, and I worked for certainly some large banks. Like I'm a Bank of America retiree, but then I finished my career running the trust and investment group that Bristol County Savings Bank had. And I retired in January of 2018. And my wife thought that I really should have something to do in retirement. And she suggested that when I was asked to join the Community VNA board that I do that, which I was very surprised at, to be honest with you. And in the past, I've been chairman of the Hockomock YMCA's Finance Committee and treasurer for about a 15-year period, and a board member there for about 24 years, 25 years. So I've had other nonprofit experience as well. My background is generally as a finance and investment person and a commercial lender. I did relinquish my certified financial planning credentials about the time I retired, and I did have a certification as a certified financial planning professional at one point. So I advise people on their trust and investment planning, their estate planning, and so forth. So my background is largely up the alley of what the foundation needs, and that's how
Exactly.
I became both president and treasurer. I had also been on a foundation that was based in the Attleboro area, the Roberti Foundation, that has supported many of the local organizations over the years. I was a board member there for a number of years in the around the 2000 to 2007 period as well. So my experience there was beneficial in terms of understanding a bit about foundations.
And Marlene, how about you? Give us a little bit of background on you.
Sure. So I came back to Community VNA in 2017 after a 16-year hiatus working in Rhode Island. I started the first time working at the VNA as their Director of Community Relations in, I believe, 1993, was here for 7 years, and then 16 years later came back as their Director of Business Development. Between that, I was the Director of Development and Public Relations at Day One in Rhode Island, which was formerly the Sexual Assault and Trauma Resource Center and the Rape Crisis Center. And then I went from there and I was the Associate Vice President for Development and Communications with Thunder Mist Health Centers, which has 3 health centers in Rhode Island.
And folks, I brought that up just so you can see the diverse backgrounds of a couple of our board members and the folks that are really going to run this foundation. So what are going to be the next steps for the foundation after we get the applications in from the RFP that you just sent out, Marlene?
So we're very excited to have that launched and to see the kind of response we get from the community. We've created a constant contact mailing list, which people can sign up with through our website. We have a Facebook page, and we're really looking to see what kind of applications that we get. And I think that and the further discussions of the board will really help us decide what the next level of grant making will be. And we anticipate that will be in the fall of 2022, with probably 2 cycles each year moving forward.
Now, folks, tell us, we do have a good base to work out of. Explain a little bit how Bank of America is involved.
Sure.
I'd be happy to do that. Again, as a Bank of America retiree, I was fortunate to have some experience in knowing what the capabilities were there. But we, as a board, the former CHS board actually put out an RFP for several major banks to come to us and talk about their both administrative capabilities in the world of philanthropy and also their investment capabilities. And we talked with JP Morgan Chase, and we talked with Wells Fargo and Bank of America. Bank of America ultimately had the most complete suite of services that we thought we could benefit from. And that includes help in terms of creating a website and having our requests from grantees go directly to Bank of America, who will then assemble the requests as we've identified. They evaluate the fact that they're legitimate 501c3s and they're in good standing. They'll present us as a board with the book of requests. And at some point in late February, early March, we'll make decisions as a local board on which ones we would like to support. At the same time, Bank of America continues to invest our money within guidelines that have been identified in the investment policy statement that the current Finance and Investment Committee has composed with help of Bank of America. So we've given them discretion to manage our funds, and frankly, the market has been so helpful to us in the recent past, even though there's a little bit of volatility right now, and we do see some wide swings. We do feel like we have a pretty significant base to work from as we go forward, so that we'll be spending a considerable amount of money in terms of making grants and supporting the operations that we have as a foundation.
Well, this is awesome. Well, Marlene, Paul, thank you very much for coming on the show today. It was quick and easy, I think.
Yes.
Kind of painful. Painless.
Thanks,
Thank
Jack.
I didn't try to beat you up or anything like that. But thank you once again for volunteering your time, because this is a volunteer position for Paul. Marlene, I know that you're an employee of the organization, and we could not do this without you.
Thank you.
Without a doubt.
I'll second that, Jack.
So thank you very much, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us today on the show. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of inside information here on the new Community Health Services Foundation and the good work that will be moving forward. Thank you again, once again, to AACS and Dave Angel, who is our producer. He puts up with me every week, which I truly appreciate. But Paul Lenahan, Marlene Roberti, thank you once again. And folks, have a great week.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jack.
Jack. You too.